And we are live and on time. Sorry, Squat Bench Deadlift. You are wrong. We are on here 8:30 on the dot. And with us tonight, we have DM Blackwall. We're going to be talking about Horde Wars Basic and potentially Horde Wars Advanced. And yeah, this is going to be pretty cool. We do have the Horde Wars PDF here. If you want to control screen sharing and whatnot, though, that's all good for you as well.
No, you're welcome to. That was just if we get to talk about advanced, because you guys don't have that.
Sure. Yeah. Let's see who we got here. We do have Squat Bench Deadlift. Good to see you, man. Jumpsuit John. That cover goes hard. It really does. Yeah, the Horde Wars cover is awesome. And I didn't know that was the basic expert. It's weird choice that he did, though, to use AI to generate that. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, no. Actually, I believe he live streamed working on some of it.
Oh, nice.
But he did the cover both for Basic and Advanced, and he did the map in Basic as well.
Nice. Oh, cool. That's for the sample adventure?
Yes.
Very cool. Jumpsuit John is saying here, what if the skeleton that is holding the spear was the enemy of the other skeletons when they were alive, and it's just like, fuck, dude, there's one right behind you. I'm going to leave that to DM Blackwall here, to Blackwall, to tell us.
They're the skeletons are probably not each other's enemies anymore.
Yeah. We got the game is a ton of fun. This is you, working on releasing an advanced version. Yeah, this guy is so right. December and January. Current customers will be offered a $5 discount on the Horde Wars Advanced PDF for the first month of release. And if you guys are interested in checking out his communities on Facebook or anything else, we have all of that is listed in the description, as well as a link to, I believe it's Big Geek Emporium or Giant Slayer Games. Is that?
Big Geek Emporium, and then we also do direct sales. If you email us, we can we sell physical copies as well.
Awesome.
Yes, which is also in the description now.
Yeah, and the I will tell you that the PDF is only $5. This is a very
exceptionally cheap.
Yeah, high value for that $5.
Yes.
Jumpsuit John. Let's see here.
The intent is that the advanced PDF will be priced at $15, but for the first month, our current buyers will get it at $10.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. Brother Grognard is here. We just played a one-shot with him last night, Spencer, in our first BRP game, which was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent role player, by the way. All right. Hail chat. Maliki, good to see you. 2-ton. Not sure if we've seen you before. I think we have, actually. Good to see you, too. Dyson Anarchy, always great to see you, as well as Patty's Parlor. Arnman, hey, everyone. And Hermit. I don't know if we've seen you before. If you guys are new, let us know. We're happy to have you here in the chat.
Hey, guys.
We also got Primeval Fantasy here, who is an excellent channel. As always, we are always promoting that people go and follow him on YouTube.
Yes. Be on the lookout for his conversation soon with Runeslinger.
Yes, his second conversation with Runeslinger should be coming soon. And if you haven't seen his first one with Runeslinger, you should check that out.
Definitely.
Doc Flamingo, good to see you as well. He was going to play with us last night, but had some internet problems, but we will get him in a game very, very soon over at our locals. We are doing one-shots pretty much once a week from here on out with people who are supporters over on locals, and so you all get a chance to play at some point. We'll be rotating people in and out. If you guys want to check that out, it is a lot of fun. Go over to blacklodgegames.locals.com and use promo code MIDWIT for a free month. Rex Teal's here. Good to see you too, man. And 28mm Rick in the house. Well met, said the valiant warriors before striking down a skeleton with his trusted sword. You're damn right. We should brainstorm something. I'm sorry, man. You're way behind. He says, what is it for me that the chat is under the stream instead of next to it? Is YouTube completely retarded? I guess.
The answer is yes, regardless of what the chat is
doing.
Or
it might think he's in mobile mode.
Maybe. I don't know. Brother Grognard played Dick Gershwin last night in our game. Oh, man. All right, lots of people saying hi here. We weep for the boys are here. Correct. Good to see you, Nathaniel Alvarez. Sorry, I just started reading the guy's name ahead of yours and mixed them together. Sup, lads, cutting up cardstock for Kerr Nathalis and some Philip Reed cards.
I don't know what that is.
No idea.
Cool.
Likely Arrow saying hello. And
Good to see you, Likely Arrow.
Let's see here.
Feel the thrill in the house.
Yeah, a lot of people saying hi. Always good to see you. Phil the Thrill says BLG or GMs for hire confirmed. We are not GMs for hire. That is emphatically not what we are doing. But we are having a lot of fun with our community.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very good and smart people over there. All right. So this guy says, hey, Matt and Nick, it's Jose here. Nice. Glad I could catch you guys tonight. $5 is crazy. I'm looking forward to hearing about this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone is. And you guys, oh wait, someone's talking about their deadlift here. I can deadlift 240 kilograms, 529 pounds for 2 reps, bald power. Damn, nice, dude.
Hell yeah.
That is quite an impressive deadlift. The max I've ever done on a single rep was 450, and I had 430 by 5 2 years ago before I stopped lifting, and I just started again, and it's not that high.
Before my leg was crushed a couple of years ago, I once picked up 3 men.
Damn. That's
like all at once in a bear hug lift.
Nice. That's
the most I've done.
Luca is asking one shots. What system?
All kinds.
Yeah, for now, I'm going to be just running BRP from Chaosium. That's basic role playing.
I believe I'm going to run the next one using Mithras.
Yeah, which is sort of similar to BRP and RuneQuest, but it is its own thing and is pretty cool. Let me see here. Mr. Max says, in mobile mode, I'm fucking watching on a 75-inch TV. Your face is larger than real life.
That is precisely why I suggested that was the problem. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Just got Whitebox. Very nice. Yeah, I have the PDF. I haven't ordered a physical copy yet, but I will at some point. That's another good one. Let's see here. Jumpsuit again, praising the cover art. That game cover art goes hard,
again.
But what if the skeleton that is holding the spear was? Yeah, okay. I think it's just
what if
repeated.
it is that
yeah.
this time?
Oh man. I see you boys are rocking your Texas militia casual uniforms tonight, but where are your combat flip-flops? We don't do combat flip-flops here. We just do free feet picks.
That's right.
Lift maxing. All right. Let's see. Mr. Max moved away from the big 3 lately, just doing some calisthenics after nearly 10 years of powerlifting. I got tired of it. Yeah, if you're doing the same 3 lifts every single time, it can get a little boring. But calisthenics will protect your virginity. So, anyhow.
So Patty over there is working on a map for Horde Wars. He's working on a setting map.
Nice.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, Patty's does some really, really cool art.
Oh, yeah.
I got to get back to him. He messaged me yesterday, and I did not. I think I responded, and then he responded this morning, and I haven't looked at it yet. But yeah, Patty's great. Very, very good guy. Has done some very cool art. I've seen he streams a lot. I think over on Rumble, doing sometimes miniatures painting and just his drawings as well. And has done a lot of work with Miguel and Sylvia over at the Red Room, who are also great. But anyway, I think we've said hello to the chat enough.
Cool.
We can, I guess, let's start talking about Horde Wars and why the D12 is the superior die.
Well, my co-author and I, we've been playing games together for about 20 years, and he's a physics professor and is very good at math. But I think anyone can see that a D12 is going to be more exciting if you keep the same rule for critical hits. Maximum roll equals a crit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that was like the first thing I noticed. It's like, okay, you crit on 12. That's going to happen a lot more often.
Yeah. And it let us play with the weapons in a way that is enough for human memory. If on a D20, if you crit, then you get the special effect. Most of the time, that's not going to play into your tactics. We found that with the D12, if you get a special effect on a crit, it does. The players try to make it happen.
Yeah, that was something we noticed that was really cool. Is like the table for all the effects for the weapons. Each individual weapon has a special effect on a crit, and so that does give you a whole lot more options. And while the game, the rules are pretty simple, like very straightforward. Like you could teach someone the basics pretty much immediately and get going. And the classes are also very simple, but there's, I'll let you talk to kind of the design behind everything and all this, but there's a lot of room for choice, and every choice that you're making seems to actually matter.
Very, very much so. Basically, because in most RPGs, there are exceptions, like I think Iron Kingdoms. But in most RPGs, you get to play a single class, or in some cases, maybe it's a career and then some kind of skill point buy thing, like the Traveler, for example. Well, in our game, you kind of build your own class. You take 2 careers and stick them together, not unlike the game Smash Up, except that's for your character. And so you could, for example, play a red wizard and combine that with blue wizard, then you've got a starting spell list right there. Or you could combine it with like Blade Master and be someone who hurls around fireballs and also hacks people up with swords. This gives you a wide variety of characters because we are offering 21 careers and we are offering 5 different species to play. So there are hundreds of combinations for you to choose from just off that. And that's ignoring the features and the perk system, which allowed us to pretty much do a hybrid between a class-based game and a skill-based game. I don't know if you guys caught that with the perks or not, but that's the effect.
Yeah, and when you layer on top of that based on your combat skill, you basically get to choose. I know proficiency is not the term. The term is escaping me at the moment, but you get
fighting style.
Fighting style. Yeah, you get fighting style with a certain number of weapons of your choice, and all of those weapons do have these different effects. You can have someone who's extremely badass in a pretty unique way, and it's not what you would say like modern gamers would refer to as my character is so unique. They're this special snowflake. It's like no. This person's like unique in a way that actually matters in the game.
Right.
And everything has. Oh, go ahead.
It makes you unique in that you are particularly skilled or good at something very specific. Like you could, for example, play an archer, in which case you're good at firing a bow quickly, among other things. Whereas if you were playing a huntsman, you're good at penetrating shots, at getting your bow shots or crossbow shots through enemy armor.
Yeah, and I also liked that when you have the fighting style with a weapon, you get multiple attacks, which is also awesome. And since this does actually feel like, since you are just, it's just a, you roll your D12, you add your bonuses and compare versus their defense rating. That is one thing that we were talking about last night with, we were playing in our BRP game. We used like hit locations, and there are some opposed rolls where, like people can try and dodge out of the way of gunfire. Not very successfully usually, but but there's a whole lot of additional rolls that go into that, and that can be fun. But if you get into a space where you have characters with multiple attacks per round in a system like that, it moves very, very slowly. Something like this is just like super quick. That is a benefit of this model of combat, is it's very fast.
Well, it's part of it. It's part of the name too. Horde Wars. It's designed to let you fight large numbers of opponents.
Yeah.
Our very first playtest had a group of, I think it was 4 or 5 players against 40 goblins.
Oh wow.
Just to see if they could do it.
Yeah. Did they?
Yeah, they did. Now, they were experienced gamers, but not experienced with our system. It had never been played before. But as it is, we put in over 1,000, I think 1,500 hours of playtesting into Horde Wars Basic.
How much? 1,500?
1,500.
Wow.
Damn.
Nice.
We have demoed this at multiple conventions during both development and once we released. And yeah, I think it's a really solid game. Now, some of the stuff that you won't see in there are things like rules, extended rules for sailing. There's a little bit in there. Rules for ruling your own domain, mass battle, this kind of thing. All of those are in advanced.
Okay, cool. I was about to ask that.
And also, the monsters and beasts and stuff included in basic are, with one or two exceptions, meant for characters in that level range.
Okay, cool. So everything that you're not going to generally be throwing anything in the basic book. You're not going to be throwing something that's going to be impossible to defeat.
Correct. With the exception of one of the dragons, which I believe is named Torvek the Earthshaker, and he is in there specifically to let you know there is an upper tier of dragon.
Yeah.
Okay. You cannot roll him on the random encounters table. Your DM has to do that to you.
Right.
And if your game master does that, I mean, sucks for you.
Yeah.
Think about what you did.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, what did you do?
But also, maybe they'll run out of the other named dragons if they get a party of dedicated dragon slayers, and you want something for them to challenge them after that.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. So we've gone over kind of like the basics of a little bit of the mechanics and some of the features. What kind of...
but to answer a question, Full Metal Dragon, no, we are selling physical soft cover copies through email, just like old school mail order. You email us your address, and then we give you a quote based on how many books you want and where you live, for shipping prices. And then once we get your payment, we ship it to you. Typically, we're doing that with literally money orders and checks. And the reason we decided to do that, and this is maybe a little silly, is it made it much easier at tax time.
Oh yeah, that's not silly. No, that makes a lot of sense. Is there
for our business now? Once we set up our own website, which may be probably in the next 6 to 18 months, largely depending on how many purchases we get for advanced. But if we set up our own when we set up our own website, I should say, at that point, you'll be able to order through that website as well. But
Nice.
Big Geek Emporium isn't really set up for it. And the only other platform like that we've considered has higher margins, will charge us more. And
yeah, no, that's not worth it at that point.
Yeah.
I'm all about lowering the tax burden, by the way. That is a completely sane way and decision to make. So in terms of the physical copies, then, did you order an offset print run of them, or is it?
We have actually done 4 print runs now.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Very cool.
All smaller runs, but we did we've done 2 spiral bound runs, which we've sold at conventions. We also were selling them through email until we ran out 2 weeks ago. I think we may do one more run of those in the summer.
Okay.
But basically, the spiral bound ones are popular with game masters because they'll lay flat.
Right. Yeah, that's a huge
I don't know
advantage.
why spiral bound isn't more of a thing.
I don't know. Honestly, I think it's just because people look at it and they say, I don't know. It doesn't look like, it's not a book, It's
Well,
I think it's a psychology
the perfect
thing.
size.
Yeah.
For a spiral bound format.
Yeah. Weirdly, it's more expensive though. On a production angle, it cost us something like $27 a unit. We could drop it if we do a large enough run, but it's more expensive because of how it's bound with that. So we're selling those for $35, I think, and then we were selling the soft cover for $25 because they cost at that number about $20 for us to produce.
Okay. Wow.
You mentioned you sold a bunch of the books, the spiral bounds in particular. Are you going to be, or at conventions, are you going to be at any cons this year?
Yeah, we're still working on setting it up, but we are planning to be at Grand Con in Grand Rapids on Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
We are also planning to be at Big Geek Con, which is over in Saginaw, Michigan. That's also in September, near the end of September.
Okay.
22nd or something. And then we've also done a few private events where somebody's reached out to us and gone, hey, I have a dozen or 24 friends, and we're going to go meet and play in this basement. Do you guys want to come out and game with us?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And
that's awesome.
We'll do that as long as it's not insanely far.
Right. So are you going to be able to make it to North Texas RPG Con this year?
That's pretty far.
Yeah.
However, in the Great Lakes region, that's much more doable for me. And Nate may travel a bit further at some point. After my leg got crushed, my ability to go in a car or a plane for long periods has gone away.
Yeah,
about
sure.
3 hours, 4 hours is the most. If I want to be able to walk afterwards, anyway.
Yeah. Do you ever play online with like VTTs or anything?
I do play online. Sometimes with VTTs, I've used like Owlbear and stuff. But in general, I find online play to be more fun with Theater of the Mind.
Agreed.
Okay.
Which is currently how I run most of the games on the Gilded server for our buyers. So if you buy Horde Wars digitally, you'll get an invite, and if you buy it physically, we also send you an invite to join a Gilded server where you can talk with me and the other people who work on the game, as well as join in one-shots and in some extended campaigns that we're running on there.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So actually, I have a question about Theater of Mind then, because this is something that actually, reading the rules, you have distances kind of measured in combat spaces, and all the monsters and stuff have there's a chart that tells you like the occupancy, essentially how many combat spaces an actual monster will fill up, which is really cool. So that got me thinking that this would work particularly well on a grid. And so
it's also written for hexes.
Okay. Oh, nice. Okay. That's cool. I do like that a lot. So in that case, what are kind of the differences for you in terms of how it runs Theater of the Mind versus on a grid? Do you find it more difficult, or is there what's going on there?
When I'm running in person, I run about half and half.
Okay.
How so?
About half Theater of the Mind, half with like setups with a grid or with various miniatures or other things. Every once in a while, I'll put a photo online, like we're doing playtests for another game we're working on, which is a superhero game. Uses the same core mechanics, though. Our intent is that we make a full D12 system with different games you can play that have the same core mechanics, though some different rules, of course, for the genre.
Yeah. Ooh, that sounds cool. We're currently playing. Nick's running a Prowlers and Paragons superheroes game. I'm considering running an Ascended at some point. I'm not sure if I'll be able to pull it off, but we'll see. This sounds like it would be pretty cool for a supers game, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I think so. We're in our second round of playtesting for that. We've probably got about 500, 700 hours of playtesting in so far. And we have something like 43 careers for that and counting.
Oh, that's awesome. I love when games are heavily play tested, because there's so many that are not play tested at all before they're released, and then we all have to deal with the fallout. One of my favorite games of all time is Exalted 2nd Edition, and that game is basically unplayable without the errata that got released for it. And the errata like it's like 110 pages or something, just completely absurd.
Our version of that is basically for Horde Wars Basic was a few typos made it in. We hired a professional editor, but in 180 pages, stuff will get missed, and so we went in and fixed those things when they get reported on the PDF, and then in each new print run, then they're fixed.
And then they get fixed that way. That's good.
But other than that, no, we're not doing errata. That's pointless.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It was like, why did they never just put the errata in the book? Like, do another print run. But what are you gonna do? It was White Wolf. But we do have this. So this comment on screen, though, this is the guy who runs the Library of Alexandria, the Alexandria RPG Library. So this guy goes around to conventions and has this titanically huge, something like 8,000 RPG books and resources, basically cataloging them all and checking them out to people and whatnot at conventions and whatnot. So it might be worthwhile to send him a copy, or for him to contact you via email to order a copy.
That would be good. If Library of Alexandria, if you would like to send us an email with a way to contact you, that'd be great.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, so we've gone on sort of some kind of very broad observations about the game, but
did you notice the turn order?
I did. Why don't you explain this? Explain this to us and the choice.
It's not
on
arbitrary batting order, right? Which is great. I really liked it because if I recall correctly, highest roll goes first, and then it's clockwise around the table.
Correct.
So you don't have to call down numbers, or people don't need to remember their initiative rolls, which is great.
Yeah, we designed the game to allow you to fight multiple opponents, and one of the things to do that is necessary to do that is to speed up gameplay compared to something like Pathfinder or D&D. You can't have as much lag time as those games have because people become inattentive.
Right.
And it's boring, which is the opposite of the point of a game. The game is supposed to be fun. And so that was the main comment we got when we were play testing publicly from D&D players and Pathfinder players. They'd come over and look at us. We were in the RPG section. And their main comment seeing the playtest was how quickly the turn order moved.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's because it's intuitive. People are used to playing board games. They're used to going around.
Right.
And on average, over the course of, say, 5 or 10 or 20 sessions, you'll get the exact same outcomes as you would have if you were individually tracking initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Initiative it's a real sticking point for me in a lot of systems because it can. I don't know. I like systems where you do have it being shaken up every round. Like right now, I'm playing Axe. That is individual initiative. Initiative is rolled every round. But I know there's like side initiative. There's people who have done like no initiative, and so it does kind of make a difference. But that is so intuitive and so easy that I might do that.
I mean, we've heard of at least one of our customers porting that over to other systems.
Right.
There's no reason you can't.
No.
Yeah.
You know, that would work in any game.
Right. I would say, and it still might even work in Axe, but Macrease has gone on record in the Discord as saying basically if you're not using individual initiative in Axe, you're not playing Axe. Like it's
okay.
You're officially not playing the game at that point because a lot of people want to add side initiative who are coming from like AD&D,
right? And
it was basically he found that after a certain point, whichever side goes first wins, like no matter what.
Sure.
Like there's
however, I can envision in a game like Horde Wars, which, as you said, it has the space and perhaps even encourages you to have a lot of enemies on the table. And certainly if you have a lot of players at the table as well in your game group, you know, the more I don't even want to say complicated, but the more steps, the more you simulate the chaos of a real combat situation, it can really grind things to a halt. So when you have a lot of opponents in a combat encounter, I think I do want something simple to keep the flow moving.
Right. So actually, here's a question then. For running this online, how do you do that turn order?
I do the exact same thing. Just if we're using like how you can see that you guys are in one screen, I'm in another, we'll just have an arrangement using that as the seating order. Or if it's on something like Gilded, I'll just use the list of people in order, and then we'll actually post that over in chat so everyone can see it.
Got it.
Nice.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And how? Yeah. So you mentioned you.
Also, if you want some chaos, if you ever decide to use this initiative system, and I hope you do, I hope you play the game as well. But have a friend come, sit amongst the players, and have that friend play one of the villains.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've done that, and the players as soon as they understood what was happening, physically rearranged their seating order.
Nice.
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 That's awesome.
Which told me they understood and enjoyed the rule.
Yeah.
So, with the intent of trying to keep the flow moving and having Horde Wars be very open to Theater of the Mind play, but also having a lot of players on the table during a combat situation, how have you gotten, what would you say, people who are not innately preferential to Theater of the Mind come on board to that style of play? Because that's one of the biggest complaints that you'll hear a lot of people say against Theater of the Mind. There's too many, when combat gets to a certain size, I can't imagine it, which is retarded. But
yeah.
So
how have you dealt with that?
So one thing, and this is generally true for game masters who are running Theater of the Mind. What you should do is err on the side of the players, which is to say, if the player thinks that, and it would match your description, it's just not quite what you were envisioning, that an opponent is within reach of them, it probably should be within reach of them. Or if the player thinks that walking forward is a safe strategy when really there's a cliff there that you just didn't describe clearly, you should maybe remind the player before letting them walk off a cliff. And I say this because I've played in a game with a Theater of the Mind DM years ago who did the opposite, which is how I learned to run Theater of the Mind.
Yeah.
By doing just not what he did.
Oh, man.
Where you walk off cliffs because he didn't explain clearly what was meant. None of the players knew what was being described. And so err on the side of the players in general, and also give clear and simple descriptions. You want 1, maybe 2 sentences to describe a given scene or room, not a paragraph. They won't remember it anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
And you'll notice in the sample adventures and locations, those are 2-sentence descriptions of the location, basically 2 lines.
So we do have a question here, though, from Zonalar here. Did I miss important features with the free version?
There is no free version.
Apparently there is.
The basic version, no. You're just missing higher level play.
Yeah, so the basic version goes from level 1 to 4.
Right.
And the progression is very easy. There's not like you don't have to
There's no experience or advancement calculation. It's just it's consistent across level from 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, you get a certain number of experience per adventure. It's you're not tracking thousands of experience points, anything like that. And I guess kind of my bigger question is kind of, we've gone over like a bunch of the different kind of systems and smaller features, but from the kind of outset, what was the idea for this game? Like, what were the things from other RPGs that you found maybe irritating or inspiring? And what was the goal, and what did you want to do with this? So
the negative first, I suppose. Oh, before that though, I can show you the negative. Do you know how Fireball or Lightning Bolt work in something like D&D or Pathfinder?
Yes.
Generally, yeah.
Okay. Nate and I both thought that was a bad rule, even though we were used to it. As I learned in AD&D, he learned in 3rd edition. And the reason was because if you make it an attack roll, and on a miss you still do half to the targets, you speed up the combat in 2 ways. 1, you're comparing a single die roll to a bunch of flat numbers, rather than having a bunch of secondary rolls. To determine whether or not this guy or that guy gets harmed and how much.
And you're talking about saving throws in that case.
Saving throws, yeah.
Right.
With different modifiers, so it's not quick.
Right.
And also, you're speeding it up because if there's a critical hit that can double the damage, that speeds up combat by killing more things.
Yeah.
And so when we were playing 5th edition D&D, when we tried that out, Nate and I liked it better than 4th, which I skipped entirely after reading the rule book, and he played a little bit and hated.
Many such cases.
And so we tried out 5th edition for a few years, and that was fun, but it didn't deliver on what it was promising. One of the things that didn't do is that the backgrounds did not achieve what they implied. Like if you were a hardened mercenary veteran guy, you could still suck at combat. Actually, you could not hit the broadside of a barn depending on how your dice rolls go. Even when you hit character level 12, because dice have no memory, and the way they used bounded accuracy, I think, was not correct. And Nate's better at math than me and could explain it a bit more. But the short version is we didn't like it. It wasn't fun, especially after playing it for a bit.
Yeah.
So we decided to make a different game. And we actually started on a sci-fi game, and I wrote about half of Horde Wars Basic 1 week when Nate was out of town.
Oh, wow.
Because I needed to think, we have a solid a ship combat system. Works really well. We played with like 60 or 70 ships, 5 to 7 players around the table, get the battle done in a couple hours. Great. But the character abilities I needed to think about in a different way. And so I spent some time thinking about how would I make this work in the Middle Ages?
Yeah.
Or the Dark Ages. How would this function? And Nate came back. He liked it so much that we play tested it. And our playtesters liked it. So while we are still developing the sci-fi game, that's on the back burner because our playtesters told us that this was better.
Yeah. And I mean, there's something so appealing about fantasy that I think that probably was the right decision, even if they had said it was not. Not if they had said it was not fun, but even if they said no, go back to the sci-fi thing. I think the fantasy thing is probably the better decision overall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you didn't like. This is one of the things people describe 4E though as, and I haven't played it outside of like the one shot on the day it was released at a comic shop. People describe that as a very tactical game. Works very well on the grid, all of this stuff. But it seems like you don't actually like the approach that was taken in 4E. What was the issue there as you saw
BLG,
it?
much love. DM Blackwall.
Oh, sorry, we got our text to speech.
Book purchase. Love your style. Some really cool ideas. Confess, you a Dynasty Warriors nerd?
Asking if you were into Dynasty Warriors. No. Get wrecked.
Yeah. So I think that the game that we designed is I think the only thing that we really kept isn't obvious that you'll find in 4th edition. Did you notice that we have minions?
I did, but that's not something I glommed onto. So if you can explain that to us, that'd be great.
So the minions idea from 4th edition was a good idea. Its execution wasn't great, partly because they all had 1 hit point, which means there was no variation in outcome. You just had them immune to a pile of things, and then if you managed to nail them, they're dead. Whereas if you gave something of an equivalent nature 6 hit points, say, or in D&D maybe 4, you're going to get different outcomes. Sometimes he'll drop, sometimes he won't. And that increases the vermicelitude, the feeling of being in a real world, and also the threat level. I mean, in our game, the characters have less hit points, and the monsters have a higher damage output at max. The trade-off, the nature means then that a equivalent of a minion in our game is more threatening to you also.
Right.
Interesting. And so the number of if your player characters get minions as well, is this correct?
No. The minion rule was a 1 hit point monster.
So like smaller. Okay, so that makes sense. Now, since this is built for hordes of enemies,
Yeah.
Does this essentially qualify as a mass combat system in its own right?
We have mass combat rules in a chapter in Advanced, but in terms of if you wanted to have a battle against like 100 opponents, yeah, you could totally do that. One of the adventures we demo at conventions is the players and maybe a few mercenaries they've hired holding a castle against a wave after wave of Dracarans attacking the place, culminating normally in a dragon attack after days of holding out against this army.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
This is really cool. I really, I really like the idea of fighting massive mobs of monsters and having it resolve quickly.
Yeah. Well, and you'll notice one of the things that we did also, the maneuvers. Did you guys catch how those work?
We didn't go through all of them like with a fine-tooth comb, but
let me see if I can screen share some of this for you guys.
So that's a good idea. So maneuvers are a thing that characters can do off turn, or on their turn, but only once per round. And there is often a trigger condition of some kind. For example, a Blade Master, if they've just made an attack, can use their maneuver to make another attack. Or the Blade Master has a different maneuver that allows them to block an incoming blow. But they can only take one maneuver a round, so they have to pick in any given round which one they're doing.
Right.
And their other career may give them other choices. And any character can hold an action to use as a maneuver later. So even if you don't have any like special ones from your character or your from your careers or from your features, you can still react in that way.
Yeah, so let me make sure this is actually sharing here. It's not sharing. God damn it. Of course.
It was up there, although...
Let me try again. I thought it was sharing. I thought you were all looking at it.
It was up there on my screen.
Yeah, it disappeared. Share. There we go. Okay, now it's sharing.
Cool.
Good. I thought it was.
So you're in the features right now. Do you want to maybe hop to just one of the careers? Doesn't really matter.
Absolutely.
Which one.
Let me see here. Careers.
Yeah. So pick one that you like, or that sounds fun.
Sure. Let's go down to the some of the magic users towards the bottom, because this was also something that we were like trying to see. We're like, what's the magic system?
Yeah.
And it was really, really nice to see that you can pick a blue wizard, a brown wizard, or a gray wizard. And as you said, you get two careers, so you can mash these up. You can be a super wizard of two types, or anything else. And the magic actions here, which these are the maneuvers, correct? Yes.
So you'll see action and maneuvers. The first two are actions. That one, magic shield's a maneuver.
Awesome. Yeah. So this is your spells come baked into the career that you're choosing. This is another thing that like I've really come to not like point buy systems because it just takes forever to create characters in a lot of systems. Like if you're like Vampire takes ages, and I really playing a lot more old school games. It gave me a much greater appreciation for this. And not having to choose a huge range of spells is also excellent.
It very much fits the vibe, right?
Yeah.
Of like fast-paced, high volume, combat, high stakes, dramatic situations. There's very much, at least my read on it, very much like a Gauntlet vibe, a Diablo vibe. Like I would totally run Diablo with Horde Wars, 100%.
Yeah.
And you'll notice that each of these wizards gets essentially a cantrip, in this case, Thunderclap. There is no limit on how often that can be used. It just takes your action.
Yeah.
And then you've got a once a day, a tier ability called Sonic Blast, which when you're playing Horde Wars Basic, you're going to be tier 1, so you'll have one use. But if you take that character and then play in an advanced, then you'll naturally gain additional uses as you gain higher levels.
Got it.
Nice. And then you've got Magic Shield, which is probably the most powerful spell on this list. And it's once a day, and you don't naturally get additional uses.
Right.
Now you can choose that with a perk. At every even level, you get to a second. One of those options is an extra use of one of your current abilities.
Right. Yeah, you get to choose a list of like 4 or 5 or 6
Yep.
things. Hit points go up, an additional skill, a
Yep.
maneuver. Yeah.
Right. Certain things will give you like an additional die
Right.
on damage.
Right.
I also really liked that rule about additional dice is very clear. It's not that you double the damage after you've rolled. You're adding an
Right.
additional die. Additionally, for things where it calls for using a skill rating and doubling the skill, you're not doubling the skill plus the modifiers. It's
Right.
double the skill, then add your standard modifiers.
Right.
The writing on this is very clear. There's not, to what I have seen, there's been nothing that was not immediately understandable
Yeah.
about the system, which is awesome.
Not only the
Thank
writing,
you.
but it's this. So this is what's
Excuse me.
appealing to me. It's like this game strikes the perfect balance with regards to character complexity, character choice.
Yeah.
It is very versatile. You get to choose a lot of different things, but none of the lists and none of the options are so bloated or are so long that it gets confusing or time consuming to really make a decision.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like the perfect Goldilocks zone
Thank you.
to like
Yeah.
And then
put over
the
this
higher
kind of feel.
tiers, if the higher tiers from advanced, those change these careers from occupying half a page each to occupying a page each.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah, but-
Yeah, that's
Great.
awesome. Yeah, so you've got one page for your entire career class.
Yep.
And then you pick 2. You get all of the things that are on it. They're all very, very clear as to what they do. Starting equipment. The equipment lists are also excellent. If we come down here, this was something that we picked up on and
I thought-
really liked.
Yeah.
So there are 11 types of damage in this game that are all going to be by anything
And
from
they're all familiar
acid damage,
to
piercing,
a
they're-
D&D
Yeah.
D&D player.
right. But under light armor, we have 4 different types of light armor. They all have the same defense rating, but they give you protection against different types
This
of
is
damage.
so cool.
Yeah, this is so simple.
It makes them different without having. Okay, well, this one gives me an AC of 11. This one gives me an AC of 10. This one gives me
Right.
an AC of 12. It's light armor. I get what light armor does, but again, here's my customization. Here's my story. Here's my tactics and strategy.
Thank
I
you.
really
And
like
you'll
that.
notice there is a built-in temptation to wear a gambeson instead of the other armor, even though it's strictly worse than a brigandine. Scroll up just a little bit and read the italicized text.
Oh yeah,
Light armor is available at most blacksmiths. Unlike other armor, a gambeson can be worn at formal events.
that's true.
I did miss that previously. That's awesome. Oh man, that's great.
And the reason for that is that's historically true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
That
also basically the only time that knights would fight each other intending to kill one another with swords when they were wearing gambesons.
Oh, I was going to say at formal events?
No. In
What
gambesons.
was
Yeah.
the most difficult portion of creating this game? Were there any points where you had to force yourself to push through? Did you experience burnout at any point? If so, how do you overcome?
That was Joe Biden is
Yeah.
on standby reading our super chats if you super chat us $10 or more. It was supposed to be more for all super chats, but I configured it wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. But
So-
the question is, go ahead.
So to answer your question, the most difficult part was the playtesting. It wasn't like emotionally difficult, but it was just like, all right, build the thing, see if it works. Okay, that did work, but players didn't understand the text. Okay, we got to rewrite that.
Yeah.
Or nope, that didn't work. That was a dumb idea. Like that was probably the hardest thing. Really, was taking the time to do that. And in a way, Nate and I got lucky because we got forced to slow down. We would have had a version of this game out a couple of years back, except COVID slowed us down
Right.
and made us take more time.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I mean, me getting my leg crushed slowed us down, made us take more time.
I'm sure.
Um,
And And obviously, we would have wished that your leg was not crushed and that the game was out sooner because we
Right.
like having cool
Well,
games. But
on the whole, we wound up with a better game
Right.
because of those delays. And also, I think on the whole that that was spiritually good for me in that I was reminded that I am not in control.
right. Yeah, 100%. Interesting. Okay. Were there any points where you had to force yourself to push through? So that's sounding like probably a pretty big one.
Yeah.
Did you experience burnout at any point?
I mean, sure, but like not for an extended period. Like
Mm-hmm.
get tired out for a day or a few days or something. But other than that, no.
Yeah. So
And-
those of you who are waiting, sitting on an idea, DM Blackwall had his leg crushed. What's your excuse?
Yeah. What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Get your game out. But that actually, so the additional playtesting, and exactly what you just said is probably a reason why, beyond your own talent and ability as a writer, probably a reason why this is so clearly written. And this is something that people don't really understand. This is something that I experienced in writing code a lot at work, was that it's very, very difficult to get simple code. When you've gotten simple code, it's usually been a process of lots of iteration, and it finally comes together, and then someone ruins it later, obviously, or you ruin it later and say, "Who the fuck wrote this?" But it's a long process to get things like this down into not just a digestible format, but a format that really doesn't leave all that much ambiguity. And so this is extremely well written and very, very clear.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that is a big plus.
Now I will say, writing process-wise, tended to be, I write, though there are exceptions, portions of it Nate wrote and then I revised, but mostly I wrote, Nate comes in with revisions or suggestions, and then I rewrite it, and then we play test it and repeat that process.
Yeah.
In some cases, I ask him to work on a thing, and he works on that, or he asks me to work on something, and I work on that. But it's a very collaborative process. I'm doing the bulk of the writing, but in terms of the design elements, that's about half and half.
Interesting.
Also,
And
we hired a professional editor, which helped.
Yeah, that's a big.
Yeah.
That's money well spent, by the way. Oh yeah, so here's like what we were talking about earlier, where you have a lot of different things that can be attached to these. So it's like defending. A defending weapon grants you a +1 shield bonus to defense when you're wielding it. Heavy. If you score a critical hit with a heavy weapon, and that's all the weapons are tagged appropriately, roll an additional die of damage.
Play testing is very hard. You can only impose on your regular group so many times. In video games, you literally pay people full-time positions for it, or it would never happen.
That is correct. You are.
I don't think so, actually. I had over 100 playtesters.
Where did you find all of them? Just going to conventions and running the game, or
Going to conventions, running games, friends of friends. Also, I have the glaring upside of having been a game master of one sort or another for about 20 years. And many people that I train to run games are now running their own groups.
Excellent.
Nice.
So you can pass that down to them. Get their free labor.
As it were.
Yes.
But
actually, this is a question I have. When you have people play testing your game,
yeah,
how do you get people to give you feedback that's valuable? Because a lot of times people will say things like, "I didn't like it," or it's like if you go on a date with a chick and it doesn't work out. If you were to ask them, well, why didn't it go well? They'd give you some nebulous reason, or they'd give you a reason, but it probably wouldn't.
lie.
It probably wouldn't be the. But even if they're doing it in good faith,
Yeah.
they'd give you a reason. It probably wouldn't be the actual reason.
It definitely wouldn't be
Yeah.
actually.
So it's like, how do you get people to actually communicate to you the valuable parts of things that didn't work well or did work well, or how do you have to kind of read between the lines with playtester feedback.
Once we got the core of the game down, the action economy and how different things should function baseline. Once that was done, then it became simply asking specific questions, like, what did you think of this ability on the character you were playing?
Mm-hmm.
Or what did you think of the monster you fought? Was it fun to fight?
Interesting.
And
coming up with good questions.
Yeah.
So just specifically asking them about that particular play experience.
Right. Did you?
And then when other people are running the game, when other DMs are running it, having them solicit in the same way.
Excellent. And did you design anything that was like really broken? You found
absolutely.
like, oh, this is a huge problem.
Absolutely, which is what playtesting is for.
True.
For example, we had a somewhat among that playtest group infamous incident in which there was something that would trigger under certain conditions, and then it could basically bounce off another thing, trigger again, bounce back.
Good playtesters ask this on their
And
Sorry
so-
about that. We may turn this text to speech off because it is going to get very interrupting and annoying.
And so what I wound up doing is that we added a clarifying rule that, well, one, I redesigned that monster or that beast, but two, I added a clarifying rule that says a given effect really in a round a given type of effect can only happen to you. Essentially, you can only gain the benefits once, not repeatedly. So you don't wind up with a chain reaction of beneficial bonuses.
Yeah. Yes, and that was all of that is also excellent. There was two things that stuck out. It's always you put a very valuable note that I wish more people would incorporate into their games, which is if there is confusion over two overlapping rules, it's the more specific one is the one that you use. The more specific the ruling is in the rules, that is the one that overrides the general rule that has been established already. And the other thing of when selecting these skills and features and whatnot, if you had something, I think the example was in relation to like resistance to fire in some way. You might have two things that do that. Like if you had resistance to fire versus immunity of fire, you only take the immunity to fire. That is the effect you use. There's no confusion here.
Yep.
Right. And also not having the rule set be bloated with different categories of effects, which is the case in D&D, certainly 3.5 and onward, where there's also a rule and a stipulation against stacking, but when you have to categorize, did this bonus come, is this a circumstance bonus as opposed to a magic bonus, a luck bonus? I really hate that.
Yeah.
This is just it's clear. It's clear.
Thank
Right.
you. And then
Duke, I gotta address this real quick just because we're getting some super chats. John Smith did say for $5, and thank you all guys for the super chats. We do and
always appreciate it.
We do and always appreciate it. He says you ask why of your playtesters, and you keep asking until you get to the root cause. Good playtesters ask this on their own.
I would say that good playtesters find a way to break your rules and warn you ahead.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is it's like you want to find
good faith saboteur.
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically, you want people that are going to absolutely break the system. That was like an example that I think Alexander McCrease gave was there was some playtester did something where it was like he was basically a quadriplegic and could not walk. He could levitate, and due to this like set of circumstances, there was some ability that basically said like if you can't walk you can do X or whatever. Like I can't remember what it was, but it was a very specific set of circumstances that all built something very weird and like outside of the bounds of what was intended of the system. Oh my gosh, you guys are being generous. We got some more super chats here. Mayor McCheese for $5. Thank you very much. When I was designing a video game, we got playtesters by going to local colleges and offering free pizza.
That'll do it.
We got feedback by bribing them with beer.
Yes, that will do it.
And again, John Smith, thank you for the $10, man. Good game design can be summed up in one word. Make waffle farknufshuk. Oh, well, anyways.
You probably wanted the commander-in-chief to say that. But
I turned off the text-to-speech. Unfortunately, we can't have Joe Biden read the the gibberish here. It would have been very funny, but at the same time, it was interrupting our conversation. So that is something we'll do with solo streams. This was probably not the right environment to try and test that.
We play tested it, and we learned that just
yes,
now.
Exactly. We play tested the text to speech.
Yeah. But to answer your question, as far as the inspiration, a little bit, just to get back to that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
It was largely a reaction to being unhappy with 5th edition,
right?
But also looking at, Nate's played something ridiculous. Like, I think he's maybe game mastered something like 30 different RPG systems.
Damn.
And
nice.
I've played and DM'd a decent number, but not that many. And he also, for a while, he worked for Paizo as a rep.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Back when Pathfinder was crushing 4th edition D&D.
Right.
So we had between us quite a bit of experience, both in terms of years and variety of systems. And we kind of thought about the things we liked the most. For example, I like the skill system from Traveler. I do not like how most of the dice rolls work. I also like the setting from that. And so we were like, well, we should have a way for people to focus on or hone skills or make skills better at something very specific. Right. And so that is incorporated in the game as part of the perks. But also incorporated, if you look at some of the careers, they get to double their skill, as you mentioned, but at something very specific, a narrow use of the skill.
Right.
Yeah, and this is pretty interesting. Obviously, I was about to say something very stupid. I was going to say, it's very interesting that you were dissatisfied with 5th edition and the game you made was very different than 5th edition. That actually shouldn't be a surprise.
Why did you do so?
Yeah. But this is very different than 5th edition. And I think a lot of people would probably get a lot more out of this than they would something like 5th edition.
Well, they definitely would, right?
Yeah.
If you weren't aligned
simpler
to the brand already, and if you introduced someone new, if you did like the Pepsi challenge, right?
Yeah.
I don't see any circumstance in which 5e would come out on top here. Like,
no.
It seems to work much better. I can read it and I can understand it.
Yeah.
Right. It's cheaper.
By a lot, yeah.
by a lot. But even not taking that into account, it's like, okay, which offers me the quicker road between an idea and actualizing that, and once it's here, once I've made that character, what offers me the greater amount of freedom?
Yeah.
And it's certainly this.
Right. And the thing that, like, I think
I hate 5e so much.
I know you do. I've never played it, so I
have, and I don't need to justify myself, but yeah, it's bad.
There's a lot of people are dissatisfied with it. There's an enormous amount of named powers, which generally tends to be a problem that for me in games, because they all do something extraordinarily, like, not extraordinarily specific, but there's a whole bunch of useless information a lot of times in those. And a lot of times it is
usually unnecessarily specific in a way which doesn't like narrow in on something interesting, cool, or dramatic. It's overly specific for the purposes of overly specific and bloated, like, mechanical differentiation. This offers me a +2 bonus here in this circumstance that may come up once every 5, to 10 sessions. Maybe never.
Right.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Now, importantly for Horde Wars Basic, other than the price, you are getting more content in that, even though it's 180 pages or so.
Yeah.
94, I want to say.
Yeah.
You are getting more content in that than you are getting in any one of the core D&D books.
Right, of which you need all 3 to feasibly play the game.
Yeah, we've got 100 beasts and monsters for you to fight. We've also got some NPC stat blocks for you, and you have literally hundreds of different character combinations to play right out the gate at level 1.
Right, and you've achieved that without having to create an enormous number of stupid and ridiculous classes and subclasses and having all these crazy rules for multi-classing. I'm thinking back to like 3rd edition and all of the ridiculous, like 3.5, the ridiculous things you could do there, which I'm sure you experienced in Pathfinder.
Oh, I had a great time. I ran campaigns. I think the highest level character was 42nd level, but I ran campaigns up to 35th level more than once.
Damn.
And yeah, it was fun and stuff, but it's not it was very badly organized. There were a bunch of contradictory rules. There were names that were repeated for abilities. It was not, they really needed a parliamentarian to like sort the game before they released anything and make sure they weren't making errors. But one thing I really liked from 3rd edition was the Gestalt rules. So we designed our game to do that on purpose, not just as an aside.
Right, you have inherent multi-classing.
Yep.
There was a goal behind it.
Right.
With some thought put into it.
Whoa.
Yes. Yeah. And so so for higher level play and advanced, each career gives you access to 2 capstones that you get to pick at 5th and 9th level. And each of your species also gives you access to 1 capstone. Of those 5, you'll only ever get 2. And so this allows you to further differentiate your character and get cool abilities at higher levels.
Yeah.
Right.
So can you tell us, okay, so I completely agree. And this is, like we said, kind of at the beginning, this is a extremely high bang for your buck, especially if you just get if you're only getting the PDF, it's $5 and you have something that is rock solidly play tested, extremely clear, offers an enormous amount of choice. And if you are the kind, and I think this especially works well if you have the kind of group that wants to create, like one of our players, Evan, would get a lot, I think, out of this sort of a game where it's like, okay, we could actually make a party of people who are extremely complementary to each other in their abilities and in the classes. If you have that very tactically minded mentality for it, if that is at all appealing to you, like this is like basically free. That's basically free real estate.
Yeah.
This is
it's
really
free
good.
and it gives you all the benefits without the ambiguity and the bloat.
Without any of the shit
right.
that goes along with so many of these other games.
Thank you. And importantly, though, what I was trying to get at was advanced should be about 330, 360 pages. I have 15 of the 16 chapters written. I'm working on the last one. Likely Arrow, who was in chat earlier, was just reviewing some of the material I worked on in the last few hours with me today. That book, when released, should have more content in real measurable ways than all 3 of the D&D core books or all 3 of the Pathfinder core books.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean, well, that's the thing. Like this, it's like exactly like you said. This game, you get more content even out of the basic version than really you're going to be getting out of any of the core D&D books.
Well, I mean, even just raw stat block count. Like we're giving. There are more in the advanced book because I've got those chapters done. There are more in the advanced book than you're going to get in the monster manual.
Oh man, that's awesome. And that is something in particular. The more, it's not necessarily just a factor of there being more monsters, but if you have high quality monsters that are interesting and challenging and present their own kind of contribution to the atmosphere of the game, that to me is what is going to give a lot of longevity to a game.
Yeah.
And I always mention Axe. I'm running it right now.
Yeah.
The monster manual for me for that. I had generally previously, because I don't like. We went through like the 5e monster manual. I hate it.
Yeah.
The Axe monster manual, I was sitting there like just reading a couple of entries, and I was just like, I can do so much with this in a game. And so if you have that many monsters and they're as well designed as everything that is in basic, this is going to be content forever, basically.
I think so. If you want to pull up to screen share the Lich stat block, I'd like to show them something. Show the guys and ladies watching something about the
it's only guys.
monster design. It's all guys.
All right, so let's find Lich. Starts with an L. I can scroll and find.
You can.
Starts with T. Dragon Raider. Donkey. Dun, dun, dun. False door. Nope. Go down a little bit farther. Lich. Here we go. Zoom this out a tiny bit.
You gotta have a Lich.
Nope. I gotta go zoom in a bit more.
Yes, we do have a more advanced version of the Lich, an Arch Lich in the next book coming as well. But the Lich, you'll notice all of his spells fit on the page with the stat block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is no flipping about to find the rules.
Right.
Yeah,
you
he uses
also...
Wail of the Banshee as per caster level, such and such. But with these, like,
right.
I hate that.
I know. It's exactly. It's when I have to reference. It has this spell. Go back to the player's handbook. Look that up.
I don't want to
fetch. Find it. You know.
No.
Yeah. Give me everything just like this.
Yeah. And so,
2 days per
to
tier.
me, that was one of the main things that we made a conscious effort to do.
Yeah.
And that did affect some design choices, and on the whole, I'm very happy with how it affected them.
Yeah.
Because this allows you to almost entirely, without referencing other pages, as long as you understand the core rules,
right,
run the monster or run the NPC or run the beast or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And in this case,
exactly. You have the fireball rule you were talking about right here.
Yes.
You know, if you miss a target, instead it takes half damage. No saving throws.
Mm. Yeah, I want to see what's the last ability that Undead Legion? I just want to...
Any number of corpses within short range animate as skeletons.
Yes.
They share turn order with you and are fully under your control. Whenever you use Undead Legion again, any remaining skeletons created with it crumble to dust.
Great. What does the Lich do? He has hordes of undead at his disposal. You're not tied to the raise dead spell as per an 18th level. I hate that. A Lich is not able to do, based on the player rules, what a Lich should do, which is have a shit ton of zombies and undead and skeletons.
Yeah. Now this particular one we did add a word, I think, in advanced, which was humanoid.
Okay.
Right. Okay. That is a critical distinction.
Yeah.
That is something Nick would abuse.
Just for
that is true.
Just for clarity, it was But if you look under there, you'll see the general rules for liches and sample what would be phylacteries. But it turns out that use of the word phylactery really is trademarked, and we decided we didn't want to mess with it.
That's so stupid.
Oh man, that is awesome. So a lot of these different things, like it has fireball. I also so yes, this is like, is this essentially the definition of fireball as the player would cast it as well?
The only difference is that the Lich, because he is a higher tier creature, is doing an extra die. So he's doing 5 dice instead of 4.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, he can do it 2 times per day, it looks like. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So that's also excellent, because this is one of those things where I am fine with some repetition in a rule book if it makes sense for something like this. Like, again, I should not be just looking up at a page number reference for what the monster can do. It's like, if I want to use the monster, I want everything that it can do at hand on the page right now.
Yep, exactly. And Max, I see what you wrote, but you maybe weren't listening. I said that use of the word phylactery.
Let's see what he said here. Phylactery is trademark. What will? God damn it, Max! Always trying to get us. Chat's always trying to get us in trouble.
Oh, thanks, Vid.
Yeah, this is awesome.
What if
Medusas.
Biden
I
said-
love Medusas.
Oh yeah. Just making.
What if Biden
only-
said? Yeah, I know. Ooh, that's cool art too.
Yeah.
And you'll notice with the Medusa that the Medusa has embedded treasure.
Embedded treasure. Oh,
So
like
she
the
has
longbow?
that bow.
No. Oh, okay. Nice.
Ooh,
So
nice.
if you defeat a Medusa, you can get that item.
A magic longbow.
Yeah,
Hell
that is
yeah.
awesome.
Artifact longbow.
Oh, one additional thing. The rules for death in this game, and correct me if I'm wrong, enemies, when they hit 0 hit points, they're toast. Kaput.
Except by DM Fiat, that is correct.
Okay. And then player characters, when you reach 0 hit points, you're not necessarily dead. You're probably dying, though.
You're
When
definitely
a character reaches 0 hit points, on their next turn, they roll a 4-sided die, and that's how many rounds until they bleed out and die.
And if they recover hit points through, someone heals them, then they're back in action and they're not dead.
Correct.
This is also very simple.
Right.
That it provides a little bit of variability for players, basically how messed up they are, without getting overly granular and without slowing down the game to an enormous extent.
Yep.
I really like that.
Thank you. There is the possibility of stabilizing a bleeding character if you cannot restore hit points. And so that involves using a medicine kit and attempting a skill check against a certain difficulty. And then if you succeed, they just kind of don't bleed out, but they don't regain consciousness either until they get a full day's rest somewhere. So you gotta haul them back to town.
And it does say until you are able to resurrect this character, until you have that ability or access to someone who can, just play another character. Make it.
Yeah.
Right.
Roll
So
another character.
What does that imply about resurrection in this game?
Well, have you read The Priest?
I did not read in depth on the priest. We chose a couple. We wanted to see what the magic users were going to do.
Totally.
Yeah.
Pull it up. The Priest is a magic user and answers your question.
Let's see. Here.
Interesting. Mercenary monk priest. Raised dead. Here we go. You restore an adjacent character to life who died within the last hour. The corpse must be mostly intact. The restored character is at 1 hit point and cannot be brought back from the dead again. Nice. Until he gains a new character level. Raised dead has no effect on creatures that die of old age. Which also, since it's saying it's creatures, this is going to apply. You could do raised dead on. Well, no, it's only to the character. That's correct. There are distinctions between the different types of characters. Monsters.
However, there is a rule that is explained in basic, but is not in depth. It's in depth and advanced, which in advanced is called magic strain. In basic, it's just given as examples of use, where you can attempt to push the limits of your supernatural or magic abilities to a believable extension of that spell or ability.
Right.
And a believable extension of Raised Dead, which normally can only target characters, would be to target a beast or a monster.
Nice.
Pet Cemetery module confirmed.
Yeah. Now it's and correct me if I'm wrong. This seems to have a basically like an implied setting. This is that is medieval fantasy.
Yep.
We have the the wonderful. I'm not sharing anymore, so it doesn't matter if I'm just looking. I'm clicking around on this thing like I'm showing people what I'm looking at, and I'm not. Is there in advance? Is there going to be a more fleshed out setting, or is this mostly meant to be kind of a starting point for you to create your own setting?
Both. So in basic, you'll see that there is a sample adventure starting town and some things around it and some traveling merchants and this kind of thing to help you get started and have a campaign of probably up to 12 sessions without you having to prep anything if you want to.
Yeah.
But in advanced, we both expand that area and then include a chapter on the setting itself. The skills in basic do give you information on the setting. So, for example, if you look up history and law, you'll find that there is information about the different nations. If you look up astronomy, there's information about the calendar and astronomical events.
Yeah.
If you look up art and culture, there are sample festivals in the world.
Yep. And the faiths have different cults and churches.
Yep.
Yeah, so there is a lot here.
Yep. And Advanced expands on that mostly. We did edit the calendar slightly to make it a little more, what's the word? Idiot proof. We needed to make it slightly simpler. There were a couple of people who were confused.
And all this talk of Advance has got me kind of interested. Would you like to kind of show off a little bit of what you're cooking up?
Yeah, let's see if I can get, let's see here. Can I? So I have to use the present view, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's that little button in the middle, and you can either do like a tab in a browser or a window, which is how I was doing it with the PDF here.
Perfect.
I'm a technical boomer, so the only reason I can tell you that is because I've done it a few times.
I get the impression you guys are a little more practiced at that than me. One moment while I open the right file. Would you guys like to see what I was literally working on today?
I would love to.
Yeah.
Sure. So let me get that loaded. Why do I have that open twice? That can go away.
While you're grabbing that, I'm just going to refill my water. I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There we go. And then jump over here, click present, share screen. Don't show those tips. Those weren't helpful at all.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. Let me see here. Edens for $5 says monsters follow the rules of the world, not classes. Many times an enemy, even if human, warrants special rules or a specific set of skills.
Absolutely.
Yeah. By the way, in theory, I'm sharing my screen. The question is, can you guys see it? Because I can't see it on my side.
I do not see it here.
There's on our end. Look below.
Oh, I see it. Add to stage. There we go.
Perfect.
Okay, we can see it. My apologies.
So I'm working on including in 3 or 4 pages a mega dungeon.
Oh wow!
Which is a bit of a challenge.
In 3 or 4 pages, yeah.
3 or 4 pages, including the rules for mega dungeons, so you can build your own or convert a module if you want. So, I know it won't be as exciting, but this piece is the actual information about how it works. And you kind of need to know what this says to understand the rest. And the yellow highlight is me going, I need to revise that sentence.
Right. Mega Dungeon is a vast location that can take days, weeks, or even an entire campaign to explore and loot. Each Mega Dungeon is organized into areas of increasing danger, usually by depth, called sectors. Each sector of a Mega Dungeon is made of dozens of interconnected caves, halls, and rooms. Game Master is expected to use or create his own maps of the different sections of the Mega Dungeon. Are you going to have anything like an Appendix A dungeon generator?
No, because honestly, there are some very good ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, and it's unnecessary. Honestly, if you are someone who enjoys playing in these kinds of games, you have access to the right maps.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Absolutely. And I'm actually interested in beyond the dungeon stuff. What you mentioned that there's going to be domain rules. And
those are done.
Yeah,
we got a chapter on domain rules, a chapter on nautical adventures. Yep.
What give us kind of just an outline of how the domain system works.
So basically, a domain, you can control a region that's somewhere between 6 and 60 miles on a side.
Mm-hmm.
And that region, based on the fortress that you build or acquire there, can support a certain number of knights and retainers, servants of various sorts.
Okay.
And you can then use settlements like a roadside inn or villages or this kind of thing to generate tax revenue, which you can hire more troops with. And then there are a bunch of special buildings you can have in your region, each of which give you some kind of unique benefit. Anything from simply having a handful of priests at your beck and call to raise your troops if they get killed, or you, to giving you a huge discount on building ships or building siege engines or this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's basically set up to be a either monthly or seasonal play style of game where an entire month passes between game sessions.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
And this is, if you will, 4-to-1 time.
Okay.
Which in my experience,
a weekly session. Yeah.
Yeah, for a weekly session. In my experience, it tends to work better. And I've run games like this in other systems as well as our own for years, including
years
in multiple groups
game
with
time
multiple
or
game masters.
Game time or real world time.
Real world time.
Okay. So you could go. In that case, you could be going many years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We actually got to a new generation.
That's awesome. That I've always wanted to do a multi-generational campaign.
Yeah. But let me show you this mega dungeon thing, and then we should answer Patty's question as well.
Sure.
Or comment. So mega dungeons basically have their own encounters tables. When you go in a room, roll on the table, which we'll look at the table in a sec. And the boss monsters, each section or sector has 2 boss monsters living in it, up to 2. There could be less. And when you defeat one and loot its lair, that's when you get to roll for treasure like you normally would.
Yeah.
However, unlike normal, you get double the output. Normally, you get to roll once per surviving character on our treasure table. This lets you roll twice per surviving character. So there's a reason to go into mega dungeons and hunt these boss monsters.
Right. And so in terms of, this does not use like a gold for XP system.
Right.
No, but Advanced does offer artifacts for XP as a variant rule.
Interesting. Okay. So if the because the kind of traditional incentive structure is get more gold so you can go back into the dungeon here. What is kind of the assumption about experience?
Well, one, you do need more gold in our game system because there are things to buy that will actually help you be more effective.
Right. You have things that you can actually sink the gold into in a useful way. Yeah.
Yeah. Not just in the future, like in terms of like domain play or in terms of like raising armies or or that kind of thing, or building buildings or ships or siege engines or whatever. But also just like buying specialized weapons. Special material weapons cost 10 times the base price. In Horde Wars Basic. So you could buy like a longsword, or you could get a silver longsword that does an extra die of damage against monsters.
Right.
But that's just way more expensive than a normal one.
Right.
And so you could also buy scrolls for the magic user or buy potions. So there's a reason to want money.
Oh yeah, of course.
But also when they roll for treasure, they're also trying to find artifacts. There's a chance they'll find a magic item.
Nice.
And if they do, that will also give them cool new things they can do with their character or enhance their abilities in some way. So then we got some directions here for building your own mega dungeon. That doesn't matter right now. Here is the description.
Do you think you could zoom in on that a tiny bit? I think it might be a little small for our followers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Is that better? We can do it.
Maybe a tad more.
Let's see.
It's like 150.
There.
That's good.
Yeah. Nice.
So if you just read the top bit, you'll get the general idea of what is this place. This and this.
The sectors of this mega dungeon, well, let me start at the actual top. The caverns of Abaddon lurk under limestone hills 24 miles southwest of Grimstead through the Witchwood, where the ancient city of Abaddon once stood. The entire city was destroyed by a falling star and violent earthquakes in the days of the Old Empire. I do like a good cataclysm. The sectors of this mega dungeon are layered on top of one another. They start in the natural caverns, down to the ruins of Abaddon, and terminate in the Dark Temple.
Yeah. So that's just giving you the layout, and then it's just going main entrance. Here's how to get in the dungeon. Natural caverns. Here is what this general section is like.
Mm-hmm.
Here are a couple specific rooms in that area.
Nice.
I really like this.
Okay, so you're basically, you're giving like a couple of important rooms and you're leaving the rest of this kind of blank space for the DM to put. Oh man, that's awesome.
This is perfect. This is exactly what we were having a conversation about this a few weeks ago, and I think we actually had a little. We didn't disagree, but like, we're working on something right now where my thought was like, I don't want to do a battle map of a dungeon, or like the idea of dungeons. Like if I had my way, I would just give the evocative description of what it is.
Do
and
the full
like,
theater of the
just
mind.
Figure it out. It doesn't fucking matter. Like where room G12 is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this is. There's these different areas that are thematically different. They have their own identity, their own flavor. This is all I care about. As a GM, this gives me flavor. It's digestible. It makes sense.
And this is the mega dungeon in really 2 pages. That first page was just going, here are rules for how mega dungeons function.
Yeah.
Here's some directions for, hey, if you want to make your own, which is what we want you to do.
Yeah.
And then here's an example. And so this first page of the example is just, here's what the place is like. So hopefully you've had a chance to glance at the natural caverns to get an idea of what they're like, for as an example. But then we go down here, and on this next page, there's a D20 column for each section.
That's awesome. Gives you traps, encounters. And this, and so you're...
it's the isolated ecology, essentially, of these different sectors. Which is perfect.
And you have like a turn sequence essentially going through the dungeon, I'm assuming. And is there like a frequency in which you're rolling these checks in
every room?
Every room. Okay.
Or hall.
Okay. Nice.
Right. Oh man, that's so much easier.
Yeah.
And then if you roll a 20, you stumble into one of the boss monsters of that section.
Hell yeah, you do.
So that could be like right up front.
It could. It could. I was playtesting this table in the last week, because I've been working on it this week, and with some guys online. And second room, they second or third room, they bumped into one of the boss monsters.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Get wrecked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which actually, it can be, depending on if you're getting magic items before you run into a boss monster, that can be a good thing. But if you run into the boss monster sooner, you're not as wounded. Your resources aren't as depleted. So sometimes that actually might be an advantage going in the dungeon. Yeah.
And there's a thing that is an additional factor, which I'll scroll up and show you. Finding a boss monster. This allows the players, or more specifically the game master as well, to speed up locating one in a specific way. So it says, when the players defeat creatures associated with a boss monster in that sector of a mega dungeon, the game master should roll a d4. The boss monster is currently that many caves, halls, or rooms away. Any character can try to find the path to him by making an engineering or survival check against a DC set by the game master, usually between 6 and 16. On a success, the players learn the direction of the boss monster.
And that's actually excellent, because if you're, that ties it into... You get to
scout and do reconnaissance in a way that is very simple.
But it's also, if you're running into something that is typically going to be associated with the boss, you run into, the evil witch's cultists or whatever.
Right.
It would make sense that she's going to be closer by.
Sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep, and it also lets us weight the odds of finding a boss monster. So, for example, in the natural caverns, 15% of the outcomes involve goblins.
Right.
One of the boss monsters is a named goblin. a Goblin King whose stat block is in advanced.
That is
And
awesome.
so your odds of finding him are higher. They're about 20%, more or less. Whereas your odds of finding the greater aberration are just if you roll a 20 or if you happen to find these lesser aberrations, which is a 5% chance.
Yeah.
So he's
I
harder
like
to
it a lot.
find, but he's also more difficult to defeat.
Right.
Yep.
And so this is the table for the mega dungeon as presented here.
For this mega dungeon,
For
yes.
this mega dungeon, correct. And above that, when you're discussing mega dungeons, do you have basically kind of advice and
That's this.
That's this right here, okay, on exactly how to build a table sort of in that same sort of a style to be able to do
that's
something like this?
these paragraphs,
Okay.
essentially.
Yeah, that is awesome.
And we're referencing another rule, travel encounters, in order for you to gauge, is this an appropriate difficulty or not? For that, there's like, between overland travel encounters and the naval ones, we've got like, what is that? 25 times 9, whatever that number is, 25 times 9 different encounters.
Oh, that's awesome.
For you to roll on those tables. So you can use that as a gauge. Are we equal, less? How dangerous is this?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Oh man, this sounds fun.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So that's what I was working on today.
Yeah.
And so in the last few days, because Nate and I, after we talked about it, we decided we really wanted to include a mega dungeon in advanced, and we wanted to put it.
It makes sense. It's the game is called Horde Wars. It
Yep.
does imply the existence of these things. It it passes the vibe check, right?
Yeah. Which is the most important check.
That is the most important check. Yes.
Yeah. And so these like named rooms allow me to do things like place specific traps. So they're not only random.
Right.
Yeah. That is really cool. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean you can add, you can handcraft it as much as you would like to.
Yep.
But the system, again, it's digestible, it's sensible, it's simple.
And so if basic goes to level 4, how far, what's the level kind of limit in advance?
Well, as you might expect, 12.
12. Okay. That I should have known.
But it's because it's organized into 3 tiers of play, each of which is 4 levels.
Okay. This is your predicting a question I have as someone who has played a lot of D&D 3.5, etc. You will know exactly what I'm talking about. We've discussed this before elsewhere, where in your standard D&D game from 1 to 20, no, certainly not 3.5, certainly not Pathfinder, they don't, there's no awareness of this fact, but the degree of power that you accumulate as you go up in levels at certain points, perhaps between 4th and 7th, 12th through 14 or 15, you are essentially shifting genres from something that is grittier to more high heroic
to something way beyond.
Yeah, you are playing superheroes or demigods, which would be fine if that was sort of accounted for and designed from those like first principles.
Right.
You're going to occupy these 3 genre spheres. What is that the case in Horde Wars, and what are these different tiers?
Well, the different tiers give you specific benefits. In addition to getting the capstones, which is a new either very powerful single ability or a pair of abilities, you are also getting increased attribute points, which act as your saving throws. When you gain a new tier, when you enter a new tier, you get 6 hit points instead of 2. You normally get 2 when you level up in our game. And when you enter tier 2, you do an extra die of damage on all attacks.
Nice.
So your ability to project force in the world is dramatically increased.
Right. So we do have a question here from Primeval Fantasy. This is from way back in the chat. Compared to D&D 1 to 2E, how powerful are wizards?
Well, we looked at one of the wizard careers for a first level wizard earlier. I would say they're more powerful to start with, but they cap out at about the equivalent of, I'll use 3rd edition here. They cap out at about the equivalent of a 15th level one in 3.5.
Okay. So you're not going to be able to do something like the typical thing of like I cast Scry to find my enemy, I then teleport to him, and then I use power to kill. Oh, you can. Okay.
You can do that. However, it's going to take you multiple spells.
Okay.
Got it.
So a high-level D&D character could have used Gate to do that, right?
Yeah.
In our case, no, you're going to need to use a couple different abilities to be able to pull off just getting to him.
Right.
Got it.
And then to kill him, no, you don't have an auto death spell.
Right.
You're going to have to fight him. So
yeah.
I do. It's called Fireball.
Yeah.
yeah. Maybe he'll die. Our characters, I would say, start out more powerful than a typical first level character, and that's pretty deliberate because we assume that your character is a competent hero,
right,
and not a dung farmer,
right.
If you wish to play a dung farmer, we do offer that rule in Horde Wars. It's in Basic 2.
And that
is, you choose to play a single career.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I like that. I like that as an option.
But I also do like this that, like, I'm sure someone has most likely already made this comparison for you. This to me actually does sound like heroic fantasy. And like it can be pretty cinematic and all of these other things. Yeah. This sounds a lot more fun and a lot more interesting to me than MCDM, the whole Colville thing.
Well, I actually know what this game is about.
Yeah.
Well, and now I should answer Patty's question. He asked me earlier in the chat to explain morality and why it's important in Horde Wars. We actually do that very briefly in the Game Master section in Basic. But basically, you are... Oh, it's public.
For Harmony. Yeah, Harmony asked if the D4 for death is private or public.
Yeah, public.
Okay.
Nice.
But the intent... I lost my train of thought.
Trying to find Patty's question here. I'm looking
Patty's question. Yeah. Morality. So the intent is that we want to play with the fact that we encourage the game master to play with the fact that you are a human playing around a table or online with other actual humans. Which means that you do have some understanding of morality. You actually do know, even if only intellectually, what is right and wrong. And it's going to make a much more interesting story if the game master, and a much more interesting game if the game master plays with that fact. Plays with the fact that his players, not the characters necessarily, that the players know that murder is wrong. Or plays with the idea that cannibalism isn't a good thing.
Right.
That will create more dramatic and more interesting stories. And so that's one of the reasons, even though we play tested a bunch of evil careers, we did not include them and do not plan to.
Right. I really actually, I do like that as well. I do. This is something that we've been talking about in relation to, we're big fans of Vampire the Masquerade, but that is a game where you are evil no matter what, by your very nature.
Right.
Yes.
And there was, I think that worked in the 90s because the world at least seemed or appeared to have some semblance of right and wrong. Like there were notions of like, there are boundaries that can be there were boundaries that could be pushed across, but it's like now everything in our culture is like every line has already been crossed. There's nothing is sacred. There's no good or evil. And there's
only evil.
Yeah, there's only evil. And so it's like I'm much less attracted to actually playing that game now because it is kind of the whole premise is like it's a sucker's bet and you know it. And so I'm a lot more attracted to heroism and actually it's good when a game has a notion of good and evil in it, and that the creator of the game has a notion of what is good and what is evil, and that making it into the game is another big positive and something that I think most modern games, especially 5e, especially since they've stripped out alignment now going forward, all of that. It's a very, very important thing to include in a game, and I think that people are really hungry for that.
What is heroism without morality?
Right. People are hungry for heroic and aspirational stories. And killing monsters, and monsters are evil, and they look evil.
Yes, which means they are evil.
Yeah, which means they are evil.
Yes.
Again,
like my mind keeps going back to Diablo. Again, this is why Diablo 1 and 2 are so great, and why 3 and 4 are
suck.
Yes. I really want to run a game in Sanctuary.
Yeah.
In the Diablo world.
Yeah.
In this.
Patty says, it's another one of my favorite things about Horde Wars and why I appreciate the consistent character options while retaining what monsters are.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. Yeah, lots of people agreeing with us, and it is excellent that's a focus of the game.
All our chat is so right.
Yeah, and I am 100% on board with there not being evil careers. Although I'm fine with there being, I am fine with games that have evil careers. That is fine, but I do like that as a choice.
Yes.
Also, we found that in playtesting that when one player picked it, it tended to make the entire party become evil over time.
Yeah. Completely. Yeah, they pull you down into the muck, whether you want to or
evil.
Not. Yeah.
Yeah, and which was interesting to see. And then we were like, okay, this is a bad idea. We shouldn't do it.
Right.
Evil exists, and you can hit it with your sword.
Damn
that is
right.
awesome.
2 times around at level 1.
The Van says, Vampire always felt like it was made by people who thought they were too cool for D&D.
Yeah.
And that is literally correct.
Yes.
Pirella giving us $5. Thank you for the super chat. Are poor wizards just as bright and just as talented as white wizards in your system?
So to answer your question, no, the system isn't racist. In fact, when you play a character, you're picking a species, not a race. And
that's true.
The wizards are loosely balanced with one another, though they have very different skill sets.
Let me see here. What's Megan Delacroix? Meh, I think you guys are denigrating evil by comparing it to today's spineless, brainless, gutless default liberalism. I don't know, but something no. You can take off the last word on that. Something that is spineless, brainless, and gutless is evil by my definition.
Yes.
Like so that it doesn't matter if liberal is attached to the end of that. Anything you say after those words is going to be evil.
Right.
Brown wizards like to watch leg hair turn blonde in the sun.
No. Brown wizards in our game actually turn into animals as one of their primary powers.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So this is so you just ripped off the 5e druid. Wow. No, I'm just kidding.
No, we have the acolyte for that.
Yeah.
What a terrible class to rip off if you were going to rip it off.
We more ripped off Merlin.
Yeah. Or I could see like Radagast the Brown.
Yeah.
Kind of gimmick there. Which again,
great
Merlin
things.
And Radagast are cooler and more resonant.
good starting places.
Yeah.
Yeah, some jumping in and anticipating your comment, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I've played in exactly one successful long-term evil campaign in the last 20 years across game systems.
It's,
and it was because the entire party decided, basically had redeeming qualities, and all of the players were on board with what we were all doing. Like there was a interconnected conspiracy kind of against the game master.
That's awesome. That's honestly, I think, the success of a
good players,
and it's that's something that's going to contribute to the success of a good game. There should be a healthy antagonism between the GM and the players, I think, and the players conspiring against them is fine.
Yeah, it depends. Again, it's like classical liberalism for 130 IQ Anglos. Like it's like the it depends on what you mean. Yeah, you want to create a world as a GM that presents itself on its own terms, which are neutral to the player, to the character's goals, and the characters should likewise, play themselves to the fullest.
Our chat has said something very funny. So you're saying brown wizards are animals? Just wow.
Become animals. It's not the same.
Let me see here. At DM Blackwall, that is the most impossibly amazing description of an evil campaign.
Again, good players can make anything high quality.
Longest evil campaign was about 18 months with weekly play, but we used D20 Munchkin rules and it got bonkers. These comments are getting dangerously based. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I've never done, outside of playing World of Darkness games where you literally are the monster, which I have played in several very long-term games of that.
I played evil characters, but never an explicitly evil, like, fantasy campaign.
Yeah, not a fantasy campaign. Yeah. I have done. We are playing supervillains in your Prowlers game.
That is true.
Yeah. And my guy is very evil.
Yes, he is.
So
so is Jesse's character.
Yeah, that is true. He's a brain in a vat. But you don't understand, guys. Skinning this baby is what my character would do. Every annoying player ever. It gets old. Yeah.
And how did so I don't know if you guys are familiar, but there was a British governor in India, and when the locals continued their practice of burning widows to death on their husbands' funeral pyres, that governor of India said, well, let us both honor our cultural traditions. You go on burning widows on their husbands' funeral pyres, and we will go on hanging murderers.
Yeah. You have to respect my culture as well. If you do that, we are going to hang you for murder.
Yes.
Yeah. As it should be.
And that is really how people in the game world should respond to the skinning the baby. And of course, also how the other characters should be like, all right, I guess you're dead, dude.
React with rage and disgust.
Rage and disgust, exactly.
Yeah.
You've clearly shown that you are a total psychopath and a danger to everyone around you, especially
you are a physical
babies.
And an existential risk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You must be destroyed.
Yeah. And anyway, so any other questions about the game in general? Because we tried to write it very clearly, which I appreciate the compliments on that. But was there anything that you guys either didn't have time to get into or you had questions about?
How many people running games are in your Guilded, basically? Is it fairly easy to get if you become a customer and get into this Guilded server? Is it fairly easy to just jump into a game?
Pretty easy, yeah. Like maybe not that day, but there are, I want to say, like 10 games up right now that are open. I mean, you can check, you're on there.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And so, not like at this specific moment, but like
but ongoing and scheduled coming. Okay, that's awesome.
And so I run a good number of those, but Likely Arrow in chat's been running some. One of our new customers who I don't think has ever run a game before just started running them.
Hell yeah.
A guy who goes by Wistabsman or Brian. He's been running games.
Nice.
And I think we've got a couple more as well. I'm hoping to get Patty on there. And
that'd be awesome.
Yes, there is a chapter on that in the next book.
Awesome. So we got, I know you've streamlined the game, but have you abandoned the fluff completely?
What do you mean?
I don't know. This is what Jumpsuit John is asking.
We kind of talked about this with regards to the setting information. I think there already are some implied setting details in the basic version of the game.
Yep.
Vis-a-vis the skills and some of the class information there. And I think you said there's going to be some details in
there is
advance
already
as well.
there's already fluff in the basic version. It's not going to be in a chapter or a section that says the setting, but like we went through earlier in the stream, we had in the skill descriptions and in some other places there are some really interesting stuff about the setting, and that's the great thing about it. And this was what we also said about the dungeon section, is that this is enough to get you started,
right?
And it leaves a lot of blanks for you to fill in. So it's enough of an inspiration and a jumping off point, which is exactly what I always want. I want hooks. I want things that are. It's just enough for me to be like, this is the vibe. This is the kind of intent of what the world is supposed to look like, and now I get to play in it. The players get to mess with it, and I get to come up with stuff, and they get to come up with stuff. So that's very much there.
That is for me very much what I want as well, which is why we're designing that way. Nate too, we're very much united on that. And I think almost any long-term game master is going to tell you that.
I agree, because I don't want something that is every stone is every stone has been turned over. I can't speak right now. And every detail is explicitly out there. That's no fun. I'll read a book instead.
Oh, he's asking if we give flowery descriptions of lightning bolts. No.
Okay. No, he does not.
It's a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that is, look out a window during a thunderstorm.
Yeah. Perhaps I missed it, but domain play and kingdom building in the next book, yes. Yep. That is in there 100%.
Yep. Now, I do want to show you a thing. Now, I've been doing this for some time. We didn't include it in the basic rules for pretty much the simple reason that this is a more advanced, isn't the right word, a more involved technique for a game master. And so it may not be, I wish someone had told, but it may not be the best thing to show someone who's never run a game before.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm getting at. But let me try sharing that a sec. You'll have to.
Yeah, I'll bring it up as soon. Now that I know what to do, I will click the button.
So you guys give this a read, this emergent plots idea. See if it makes sense to you in English.
Sure. Emergent plots. To make the game world feel alive and create emergent stories, narrow each plot point or starting attitude down to 3 possibilities. The most likely outcome should have a 50% chance, and the other 2 outcomes should each have a 25% chance. Announce the possibilities, and then have one of your players roll 1d4 to determine which is true. This helps engage the players with the story and gives them the opportunity to make suggestions prior to the roll. And then for the example of this, the local lord, let's say that the players learn that a local lord is sneaking off to an inn late at night. You decide the following possibilities, explain why he is sneaking off, and announce one of them to the group. Then one of the players rolls 1d4 to determine which is true. On a 1 to 2, the local lord is meeting with his lover. On a 3, the local lord is part of a secret cult. On a 4, the local lord is hiring an assassin. The same method can be used to determine who the lover is, what the secret cult wants, and who the assassin is targeting. So you're announcing these options, and then they roll.
Yes.
And they... So this... they roll?
I like the idea. I don't think... It wouldn't occur to me to have the players roll that.
It didn't for me either at first, but we've found in playtesting, it is far better because the players get the opportunity to gamble for the outcome they want.
Interesting.
They feel like they're helping decide, even though really the dice are, and you actually decided ahead what the possibilities were.
Right. So in that case, my only kind of problem I would have with that is that it does it takes a little bit of the mystery out of it. If they know what it is, so would they know before they go and investigate?
No. So you would roll at the time it becomes pertinent, like when they get to the inn. What did they find?
Got it. Okay. That makes more sense. That's
and
interesting.
in a sense,
Yeah.
I would have to try. I would have to test that to see how that works.
You should. We found it's actually important to have the players roll. You can see around a table, they sit up and get more engaged.
Interesting.
I could definitely see that. I think I can very easily foresee a game engagement. I would have to test it out to see if there would be like a trade-off between like player engagement and character immersion. And again, this is going to come down to the quality of player you have, right?
And what they're interested in, yeah.
And what they're interested in.
That's
But
very
remember,
interesting, though.
The player isn't the one making these choices. You are.
Yeah,
The player just has a moment to give a suggestion, and sometimes they do think of something better.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, that's totally true. I mean, there's plenty of times where a player comes up with something and then I run with it.
Yeah.
That is very interesting. I would not have.
Yeah,
I would not have had that idea.
That's not something that would have occurred to me.
That's really cool, though. I wanna read more about it and think about it more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I really encourage you guys to try it out. It's it's something that I learned probably 15, 17 years into running games.
Wow.
And I wish I had known it earlier because it would have made a lot of prep work much easier.
Yeah.
And also, it makes the game world feel more alive because the players know other outcomes were possible.
That is true.
Yeah.
I could certainly see a huge upside in getting people who are new to the hobby, helping them understand that this is what it's about. This is what we're doing. I'm not telling you a story, right? This world, is generated as we inhabit it.
Right. And that's the type of thing where any of those, that's not something you're not coming up with like, okay, I'm going to come up with a chart of 3 things before we sit down and play. This is something that dynamically comes up during play.
Yes.
Interesting. I really want to play this game.
Yeah.
You
A lot.
should. You guys should hop in a game.
Yeah.
So, do you have a goal in mind for when the advanced version will be available?
Should be December or January for the PDF.
Nice.
It'll be a couple months after that, maybe 3 for the physical book. The reason for the delay is, one, we want to make sure that we give our current customers a discount essentially equal to their purchase price of basic on advanced.
Yep.
And that's specifically the PDF.
Yeah.
And secondly, we would like the opportunity to crowdsource looking for any errors prior to paying for a print run. And the way to do that is by offering a PDF.
Right.
Yep.
Because we are going to be having a professional editor go through it again, but advanced is about twice as long as basic.
Yeah.
And so some things are going to get missed. That happens in Bibles too, if you were wondering. You ever see one on a discount rack?
Yeah.
And some of the misprints are more hilarious than others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there was a Bible that said something like "Thou shalt steal." They missed the word "not."
Oh man.
Whoops! That wrong print. So and those have hundreds of people working on them.
Yeah.
No, totally.
So we have a small design team. It's Nate and I doing the writing. We have 3 artists currently working on the book, and we have 1 editor, and that's it. So we want the opportunity for our current customers who know how the game should work to be able to look at the advanced stuff and go, I think you wrote this wrong, prior to a print run.
Yeah. Pure Blood RPG saying, always loved the idea of releasing a full PDF followed by the physical copy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I think
the Democrat Bible. Oh God, that's funny.
But
oh man,
No, there's even one that's an actual collector's item. I think it was an adultery one where there was a misprint.
Thou shalt commit adultery. Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
And as but with that D4 thing, as Likely Arrow was pointing out here, when you're the one physically rolling the dice, you feel like you have agency, despite the dice being random.
Right.
I think
interesting.
I think that's true, and often, like I said, the players, once you have those outcomes announced, have some outcome they want to have happen.
Yeah.
And so they get excited to try to have it occur.
Do they ever get disappointed when they don't get that one?
Sometimes, but a lot of times there's one that they kind of dread, and that also creates a memorable story, a memorable interaction. We're like, oh no, and they know it could have gone another way.
Yeah. Oh man.
And the D4 is actually important, and it's because of the limits of human memory. Without rote memorization, generally speaking, you won't remember more than 3 to 5 things of a given category if someone just tells you. This is why phone numbers and social security numbers are organized the way they are.
Right.
And so it's important you use a D4 because people will actually remember. The whole group, basically, will remember what each number means.
Right.
But as soon as you move to a D6, they won't.
Yeah. That's interesting. Well, man, I this is awesome. I really want to play this. I'm definitely gonna try and jump in a game at some point where I'm running or playing at least 2 a week now. So we'll see if I can.
I'm gonna be sending an email tomorrow to get a physical copy.
Get the physical copy.
That'd be great.
Definitely looking forward to Horde Wars Advanced as well.
One thing I should mention for anyone watching and for you guys too, it is in general better to buy 2 physical copies from us, like for you and a friend. For you, not for us. I mean, it's great to sell more books, but the reason is because it costs us the same in shipping to ship you 1 or 2 books.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter.
So, and then it costs you, if you're splitting it with a friend, half as much to have us ship it for you if you get a book with a friend.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. All right. So I guess we're gonna get 2 copies.
Yep.
All right.
Just a thing to be aware of.
Yeah.
And we're using like an insured tracked shipping through the postal service.
Okay. Nice. So yeah, you can actually track it then. All right.
Excellent.
Is there anything else that you wanted to say about Horde Wars before we wrap up here?
Well, I mean, really just I encourage people to try it out. We put basic at a very reasonable price, I think, for what you're getting. And the reason we did that is so that people would try the game. The biggest hurdle, I think, to getting people to try a new game is pricing, really. I've seen new games out priced as high as like $50. No, I mean, not literally no one, but not many people are going to want to gamble that amount of money on will I like this.
No, I agree. And $5, like I'm saying, that is so cheap for what you get here. This is like massive bang for your buck.
Everyone can afford
that. Don't let the word basic fool you as to the content of this game.
Right.
It's like we said, very, very clearly written. And there's lots and lots of opportunity and interesting stuff that you can do with your characters without getting bogged down in complexity.
This thing is cool as hell.
This is really cool.
Thank you. I think the two artists who worked on Basic did a really good job. That was Simeon Cochran and Jonathan Torres.
Yeah.
Also known as the Basic Expert.
The Basic Expert. Yeah, who we are big fans of. And we got here Vid for $5. Thank you again, man, for the super chat, man. Thanks again for a wonderful show, gentlemen. DM Blackwall, you're the man. Leave a like, folks. Yeah, please leave a like and go check out his communities, which are listed in the description of this video. Send him an email, buy a physical copy of this book, and at minimum, though, go check out the PDF of this because this is very, very cool.
Yep. Oh, I see. Tex has a relevant question, or Rex Teal has a relevant question. It's $25 for a soft cover, and shipping, depending on where you live, ranges somewhere between $10 and $20. However, if we can ship 2 and sometimes 3 in a box. The soft covers we can do 3. The spiral bound we could not.
Right.
And so if you're ordering with a friend, we recommend that just so it costs you less money.
Right. Remind me, do you still have the spiral bound in stock, or is that going to be coming?
No, but I think we're going to do another print run of those in the summer.
Okay,
cool.
Because we've got some conventions coming up in the fall, and we've sold out of those at conventions before. So,
okay.
Also, the as far as that goes, Comics Wellspring is the company we had do the soft covers. If anyone was wondering,
Comics Wellspring. Okay,
haven't heard of them. Good.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
good
gonna
to
have to definitely look that up.
Yeah, they'll do soft covers of up to 180, 200 pages. We were right near the cutoff. They typically do comic books, but they do pretty good quality soft cover books as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with Akaris, Greg.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he uses them for all of his soft covers.
Okay, awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. And Zonalar here with a good observation. Also, your players do not care to buy the book you would like to run for them if it costs them $50 to buy their own copy. They will expect you to do all the expenses if it's expensive.
True.
Yeah. I'm all for cheap prices. DCC is $30 for its giant book with PDF code. Palladium also keeps their books dirt cheap too, even though it's getting more expensive. Yeah. Damn, I spent my $5 on a super chat. Sorry.
Well.
It's basic, but not a dumbed down quick start game. It's a truncated version of the full game. Yeah, but it's still this. I mean, this is absolutely a full game. I think started it goes to level 4 for sure. Like there's a hard stop on the advancement there, but there's enough in this. Yeah. Even if you capped out at level 4, that you could continue playing and have a lot of really fun adventures.
And you would need like 45 to 50 sessions of play to get to 4th level, if my math is right.
Yeah. And also, just so you know, there are unique magic items, but also a magic an artifact weapon generator in basic. And in advanced, there are like 4 shy of exactly twice as many unique artifacts.
And we also got the F WotC, send all of your shekels to people like Blackwall.
Well, thank you.
I'd totally play it if I had friends to play with or friends. Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
If you do buy it and you do go to the community, you can have some new friends and you can play it online. Yep. That's part of the great time. And time to get into solo gaming. Let me see here. And Jumpsuit John saying, Mr. Blackwall, thank you for your hard work. You are an inspiration to us all and to me personally. Thanks for answering our questions.
Thanks.
Cool.
All right.
I think that's probably a pretty good place to stop here. We got Vid one more time for $5. Thank you. Thanks again for a wonderful show, gentlemen. DM Blackwall, you're the man. Leave a like. And I think that's probably a good place to cut it off. So have a good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And go buy this game and play it. This sounds awesome.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let me hit the
Thanks
end
for having
stream.
me, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Take care, boys.